Hello everyone, hope you're all doing well. Thank you very much for tuning into today's episode here at the Aquarium Project. I would just like to say thank you all very much. I really appreciate it and I love you all so much. We really couldn't do it without you, so thank you all very, very much. If you haven't already, please make sure to like and subscribe and all that good stuff, all that shameless promotion at the start. But I mean, that'll do it for now. Why don't we get into the main topic for today's video, eh? So today we're going to be talking about the worst fish for a beginner. And when I say beginner, I mean like for your first aquarium. If you're, maybe you're a beginner but you've got a few tanks or something, that's not quite what we're thinking about here. What we're thinking about is if it's like your first tank, day one, what things might be the things that you might want to steer clear of, and what some alternatives to those fish might be. Like what ones might be similar in terms of appearance but not have some of the drawbacks that the ones that we're going to be talking about today have. The way that we're going to do this is I'll walk around and I'll show you the fish on the camera while we go. But I will show you around just like other stuff around the shop, so you're not just looking at the same thing for the whole time. But yeah, we'll start off by showing you each fish that we talk about, assuming I have it in stock. I might not, but I probably will. So yeah, let's get going. The number one option that I have that is probably going to be a bad option for your first tank or for a beginner is these guys here. And that is the pea puffer, or the Indian dwarf puffer they call them. I think they got a few names, but these little guys, I'm going to say they're not a great option for a beginner, and for a very specific reason. These guys actually are pretty easy to care for. They're not too demanding, not too aggressive, everything like that. But the only problem with them is that you will need to keep them, they don't do tank mates well. In the tank, they'll basically kill anything. Before, these guys used to be in this tank here, in the retail tank. Like this was the pea puffer tank here. And in here I had some Bosemani rainbows, like some little ones, but still probably like that big, like a good couple inch or two. And what happened was one day I left the lids off of both of the tanks by mistake overnight. And I came in the morning and Bosemani had jumped out of this tank onto this tank, into that tank. And these little terrors had absolutely shredded this poor fish. I did catch it out and nurse it back to health and everything, and it was fine. And one of you lovely people took it home. But it was really just absolutely demolished. And I mean, you'd normally think that a Bosemani rainbow could eat these guys. But obviously it was the victim. And so the reason I think these guys aren't a good fish for a beginner is, I think when you're beginning, you want to kind of taste all different types of fish, and like a community tank's a good option because you can kind of do all sorts of stuff. But with these guys, you can kind of just have these guys, and I think that what I find is that gets a bit boring for people. Like they come in and they look at all these fish, like maybe look at platies, maybe look at cories, but they can't have them. They can only have the pea puffers that they originally started with. And I mean, that's fine if that's what you're into, but I just think the limiting sort of factor of it does kill some of the joy that comes along with keeping aquariums, and particularly first getting started and learning about things. That's why I always think pea puffers is a perfect option for a second tank or a third tank or something, but probably not for your first tank. Just that it can get a little bit boring pretty fast. Unless you want to go all in on plants or something like that. But I mean, even with that, you have plants, you might want to throw some algae eaters or something in there. Not gonna be possible, unfortunately. So that is why pea puffers is my number one thing that is not recommended for beginners. Next up on the list, we got these bad boys. And as you can see, even as we're filming, he is demonstrating one of the reasons why he might not be a good option. So that is a red tail shark. And I did film another video talking about this fish in particular, but as a whole. And the main reason is because I think the biggest problem I have with this fish is I think the name. I think the name is kind of makes people want them even though they might not otherwise. So having a shark is cool, having a shark is badass. Everyone wants a shark in their tank, particularly when you see one that's like the size of your pinky finger, like this guy that's hiding around the back of the rock and has this cool black and red contrast and all this kind of thing. Who wouldn't want that in their aquarium? And I agree, if it stayed that size, that would be awesome. But the problem is they get too big, so they'll get, I don't know, maybe like 12 centimeters, say. I don't know what that is in inches, but so they get like 12 centimeters roughly. And they get like quite thick, like quite a chunky fish. So you need a big tank. I wouldn't keep them in anything less than a 4 foot, 75 gallon, 250 liter aquarium. But then the other thing is also they can be quite rough when, like, if you really like them and you want to keep them sort of more seriously, they can be kept in a way that will keep them peaceful. But for the most part, when you're not keeping them right, they will get quite aggro and they're quite rough on a lot of other fish. So no one is going to enjoy watching their fish get absolutely demolished by this other terrorist fish. Super aggressive, getting too big, causing a lot of stress on your hobby. No one's going to enjoy that. So that's why I think they probably aren't the best option for a lot of situations. They are one where, like, if you're a little bit, I'm going to say they're not a beginner fish, but they don't get the love from the more intermediate kind of hobbyists, like the people who have bigger tanks or multiple tanks or know a little bit more about how to look after them so they don't get aggro. That's the kind of person who I think will get a lot out of it, but unfortunately for a beginner, I don't think that there is that upside on what is the best for the fish and what is the best for your longevity and enjoyment in keeping fish. So our next fish is in this tank, and it's actually, I think, going to be one that no one's going to expect, and that is these guys, the golden barbs. And I mean, in of itself, I think the golden barb is a fine candidate for most, a lot of beginner aquariums. But so the main reasons why I don't like them as a beginner fish is how they're sold. Because the problem with them is they get pretty big, like they'll get like that big. I don't know if you see that for context, but they'll get pretty big. But they'll, to a lot of beginners, is because they can tolerate those cooler temperatures, which is fine. But I mean, for a beginner, a gold white cloud mountain minnow is going to be so much of a better option than a golden barb. The golden barbs just quite frankly get too big to really be considered for a beginner. Like even if you had like this tank, which is like a 2 foot, 20 gallon, 70 liter aquarium, that is not going to be big enough for them. And for a beginner, that's quite a big tank. So if you want to get these guys, that's fine. Gold white clouds will be fine in the room temperature water. I'm going to have pretty much the same color with even a bit more, like a bit of red through them. But I don't think that these are, I see these a lot, like just getting thrown in like those little, I don't know what brand they are, but like those little 30 liter tall tanks with the rims. I did it, actually, that was one that I had when I was little. But it's just not the right situation. Like you see a big golden barb, big active golden barb, and it happens to me, I just feel bad because you know that so many of them just go to little tanks, and because they are a little bit more boisterous when they get big, obviously dealing with their quite active behaviors and all that means that unfortunately they end up in the wrong aquariums. When there's the main part that frustrates me is that there's such a clear good alternative to these guys. So yeah, I just find it a little bit sad really with these guys. But I think they are really cool fish, but probably not the best if you've got a little aquarium. So thank you guys all very much for watching. I hope you got some value out of it, and I hope maybe that what I was trying to do with this video is present maybe like I could have gone the very kind of low-hanging fruit way and just gone with some common plecos and goldfish and that kind of thing, but I hope it presented you with maybe a different way of thinking about this question and maybe gave you a bit more like food for thought in different ways about different kind of methods for thinking about this, or different things to consider when you're getting fish for your own aquarium, be it your first tank or be it your 100th tank. I think the ideas are worth thinking about regardless. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you haven't already, please make sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, share it with your friends, share it with random strangers on the street. I really appreciate the support from you guys recently. I'm really enjoying making these YouTube videos, so I have every intention of keeping it up rather. So yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. I love you all so much, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.